Next thing, you have to look at the boundaries of cubital fossa and the content of cubital fossa. And as you do that, you will see there is a triangular cubital fossa which is in front of the elbow joint and having some boundaries, 3 sides. So what are the 3 sides of cubital fossa? You will see that laterally there is a muscle coming from the humerus bone to the radius bone, and because it is coming from humerus bone to radius bone, it is called brachium radial muscle, brachioradialis muscle. So brachium radial muscle, brachioradialis muscle, where is it coming from? The lower end of the humerus. And where is it inserting? To the tip of the styloid process of the radius. So coming from the lower end of the humerus and inserting to the tip of the styloid process of the bone radius. What is it doing? It is brachioradialis. It is for the elbow flexion in mid-prone position. And what is it doing here? Here it is forming the lateral boundary of the cubital fossa. So you're telling that it is forming lateral boundary. Then who is forming the medial boundary of the cubital fossa? It is a muscle which came from here to here, the pronator teres muscle. So pronator teres muscle is the medial boundary of cubital fossa. What is the base? Base is actually an imaginary line connecting the medial epicondyle with the lateral epicondyle. So there is one imaginary line which is connecting the lateral epicondyle, medial epicondyle. I think medial epicondyle common flexor origin where pronator teres taking origin. Yes. And then you have the common extensor origin which is the lateral epicondyle there. Yes, that is the point. What are the contents? Contents, you know, there is a tendon of biceps. Remember? That is the content, and one artery which is called as artery, brachial artery, dividing into 2, radial and ulnar artery. Radial and ulnar artery are also content of cubital fossa, and one nerve also, median nerve, and one more nerve which is on the radial side, so radial nerve. 2 nerves, 1 artery and 1 tendon. What are the 2 nerves? They are in the periphery. You see the radial side, you have the radial nerve, and medial side, you have the median nerve at the periphery. So median nerve is on the medial side. Yes. Radial nerve is on the radial side. Yes. And which tendon was there? Tendon, you have seen, it is the tendon of biceps going to insert to the radius bone. And which artery? Artery, you should know that it is called brachial artery, and giving 2 branches here, the radial and ulnar artery, they will become contents of the cubital fossa. So let us draw a diagram for the same. And as you draw the diagram, you have to tell it is a triangular fossa in front of the elbow joint, and there is one imaginary line connecting the 2 epicondyle, which is lateral epicondyle and also medial epicondyle. This is the imaginary line here. Yes, that is the imaginary line connecting the 2 epicondyle. Then there is a muscle which is running laterally, and that muscle is called brachioradialis muscle. And then there is a muscle which is running medially, and that is called as a pronator teres muscle. Now this pronator teres actually has 2 heads, if you remember, and between the 2 heads of the pronator teres, you will see a nerve is passing. Which nerve is passing between the 2 heads of pronator teres? Actually, it is a content of the cubital fossa, medial content of the cubital fossa. Are you talking about median nerve here? Yes, median nerve. Median nerve, which is the content of the cubital fossa, is passing between the 2 heads of the pronator teres. So whenever there is, pronator teres syndrome, pronation is painful. So pronator teres syndrome, pronation is painful. Why? Because the 2 heads of the pronator teres will compress the median nerve. So in pronator teres syndrome, there is compression of pronator teres syndrome. There is a compression of the median nerve between the 2 heads of the pronator teres muscle. Yes. Okay. Which other nerve is in the content of the cubital fossa? That was more lateral, and it was the radial nerve. So towards the radial side, you have the radial nerve. Yes, radial nerve. And then you have a tendon also. Which tendon was that? It was the tendon of biceps, tendon of the biceps brachii. And which artery was there? There was one artery, and that artery is giving 2 branches. and the artery is called, it is called as the brachial artery here, and brachial artery is dividing into the ulnar artery and the radial artery. So we are telling that there will be brachial artery and ulnar radial artery also content of the cubital fossa. Yes, remember the sequence, and it is R, TAM, radial to medial. R, TAM, radial to medial. What is R radial? R radial is the radial nerve itself. If you say R is the radial nerve, radially, then what is the T for? T for the tendon of the biceps brachii. And what is the A for? A for the artery, the brachial artery. And what is the M for? M for the median nerve on the medial side. So median nerve on the medial side? Yes, R, TAM, radial to medial. In a sequence, you must remember they're the content of the cubital fossa.